Hey folks, I bring you today's video with a heavy heart. Yesterday, a viewer of mine reached out to me and let me know that a relative of theirs had made the choice to take their own life. This person, who I won't name out of respect of their privacy, said that the grief was unbelievable, that all they could do at that moment was sit and wonder why it had happened. So today I feel compelled to say something, because while yes, my goal with these videos is to make a living, their higher purpose is to make the world a better place, even if in only a small way. Anyone who knows me knows that I am no fan of pulling the "I'm disabled, so you better listen to me" card. But if it might save a life, you can be damn sure I'm going to do it today. So I'd like to offer you some perspective as to why suicide is never the answer. Look at your life and ask yourself, what are some of the things that make me unhappy? Maybe you don't have the car you want. Maybe you envy your boss's position of power over you. Do you know what I envy? The fact that most people can dress themselves without assistance. The fact that if you drop something on the floor, you can most likely bend over and pick it up without having to use a special claw implement just to be able to reach it. I have often watched with longing as someone near me bought a can of Coke and popped open the ring pull without needing any help to do it. I look at people who get to decide that they want to live alone, even if it's in a tiny apartment, and I wonder what that might be like, because living alone will never be an option for someone like me. A harsh truth of life with cerebral palsy that very few people want to face is that for me, true privacy will never exist. I will always need help with even the most basic aspects of daily life. I am not telling you these things in an attempt to gain sympathy or to portray myself as some sort of saint. What I'm telling you is that if I can find meaning in the face of all my struggles and all my suffering, why the hell can't you? If I sound angry right now, it's because I am. Not at the person that chose to take their own life. I understand that impulse and I deal with it on a regular basis. What makes me angry is that there are so many people in the world born with so many advantages that they simply take for granted and do not appreciate. Life is not perfect, and your job, contrary to what popular culture tells you, is not to seek happiness. If you want your life to mean anything, you have to live in order to make the world better for others. That is what I am trying to do. That is why I make these videos. I make them not because I want attention. Hell, public speaking for me isn't even in my top 10 favorite things to do. Invite me to a birthday party or any large social gathering, and I'll be the guy sitting quietly in the corner for 2 hours, saying less than 10 words. The reason I am willing to make a public spectacle of myself, despite the risk of abuse and insults that come with any online interaction, is that no one is as critical of myself as I am. I deal with self-hatred almost daily, and I know what it's like to feel like a worthless piece of garbage. When you live as I do, it's easy to become convinced that you are a burden that society would be far better off without. The reason I have never and will never attempt to kill myself is that I am fully aware just what it would do to my family and friends. Even if suicide did end my suffering, all it would do in the long run would be to increase theirs, and that I cannot tolerate. I firmly believe that no matter how bad my life gets and how much I hate it, my job while I'm on this planet is to bring happiness and positivity to others. Not the fake kind of positivity in which people claim that their lives are perfect and that everything is just wonderful. No, the kind of positivity that says everything is a mess, everything is in chaos, but that doesn't matter, I'm going to keep going anyway. On the subject of suffering, I'd like to present you with an excerpt from a lecture by a man who's much smarter and more experienced than I am. Clinical psychologist and professor Dr. Jordan B. Peterson.
There's a couple of figures who are at the mythological roots of our culture, and people get upset with me because I bring in religious themes, but I understand some things about mythology and religion. And it's not an accident that the axiomatic Western individual is someone who was unfairly nailed to a cross and tortured. It's like, yes, right, exactly. So what do you do about that? Well, I thought about that for a long time too. It's like, well, you don't get together in a damn mob, because all that does is allow you to be as horrible as you could possibly imagine and suffer from none of the consequences. That's a bad idea. So how about we don't do that? Well, there's a deep idea in the West too. It's like, pick up your damn suffering and bear it and try to be a good person so you don't make it worse. Well, that's a truth. I read a lot about the terrible things that people have done to each other. You just cannot even imagine it. It's so awful. So you don't want to be someone like that. Now, do you have a reason to be? Yes. You have lots of reasons to be. God, there's reasons to be resentful about your existence. Everyone you know is going to die. You too. And there's going to be a fair bit of pain along the way, and lots of it's going to be unfair. It's like, yeah, no wonder you're resentful. It's like, act it out and see what happens. You make everything you're complaining about infinitely worse. There's this idea that hell is a bottomless pit, and that's because no matter how bad it is, some stupid son of a bitch like you could figure out a way to make it a lot worse. So you think, well, what do you do about that? Well, you accept it. That's what life is like. It's suffering. That's what the religious people have always said. Life is suffering. Yes. Well, who wants to admit that? Well, just think about it. Well, so what do you do in the face of that suffering? Try to reduce it. Start with yourself. What good are you? Get yourself together, for Christ's sake, so that when your father dies, you're not whining away in a corner, and you can help plan the funeral, and you can stand up solidly so that people can rely on you. That's better. Don't be a damn victim. Of course you're a victim. Jesus, obviously. Put yourself together. And then maybe if you put yourself together, you know how to do that. You know what's wrong with you, if you'll admit it. You know there's a few things you could polish up a little bit, that you might even be able to manage in your insufficient present condition. And so you might shine yourself up a little bit, and then your eyes will be a little more open, and then you can shine yourself up a little bit more, and then maybe you could bring your family together instead of having them be the hateful, spiteful, neurotic, infighting batch that you're doomed to spend Christmas with.
To anyone watching this who has decided that ending it all is the only way out, if you really believe that, then there's nothing that I or anyone else can do to stop you. But if you still feel a tiny glimmer of hope, I would ask you a favor. Put it off until tomorrow. Put it off until next week. There is no reason to rush a decision like this, and you have all the time in the world. For now, farewell.